I want to start this video with a confession. I love cheap lenses, not because I can't afford better ones, but because using them is always a challenge I genuinely enjoy. I enjoy showing people that you can take a cheap lens and still produce good photography and wonderful work. In this world of too many options, we have been convinced that the best options are the most expensive ones. And I simply love showing that this is not always the truth. Your eye, your ability to understand light, and your ideas are far more valuable. So what we'll try to do here is to show that photography is more about the eye than the price tag of the glass. A while back, I spoke about the Nikon 40mm f2. It's another lens in the $200 range. I own the older, the cheaper, and the less pretty version of that lens. And I really like it. It became one of my go-to lenses for just walking around. So when this TTArtisan 40mm f2 landed on my desk, I was curious, because this one is even cheaper, and it will save you about $60 over the Nikon one. I think it's probably one of the cheapest autofocus lenses that you can find for the Nikon Z system. So I wanted to know if with this price difference, you're giving up something significant. But before we get into it, a small disclaimer. This lens was sent to me for testing and review, but that has no impact on my opinion. I am free to say what I want, and what you will hear here is exactly what I think. All the photographs that you will see here are taken with this lens, and while I didn't have the chance to fully test it over a long period of time, I did have a chance to photograph with it in various conditions and get a solid idea on how it performs. Now before everything, let's talk about the 40mm focal length for a moment. This focal length is interesting and become quite popular in the recent years. It was always there, but it was sort of flying under the radar. It became more popular maybe in the recent 5 years. This 40mm sits right in the middle between 35 and 50, but I would say the way you compose with it feels closer to 50 rather than 35. Even when the millimeters are going closer to 35, it still feels more like a 50. On one side, it's wide enough to give you some environment around your subject, but on the other, it is not as wide that you lose control of what is happening in the frame. At that focal length, layering can be a little bit challenging, but the rest is just fine. The 40mm gives you this natural field of view, very close to how the human eye sees. Not overly compressed, not too wide, just normal. Things kind of feel as they are where you're photographed through 40mm. This is of course subjective and debatable. If you search online, you will find some people call it the 50mm to be the most natural field of view. Other ones will say it's the 35, but for me it's the 40. For street photography it works beautifully. You can include enough context without fighting with the wide angle, and mostly without getting too close. For travel it's the same thing. Be it environmental portraits or some documentary work, you can do most of it without any issues. It is not the most popular focal length. This would probably be the 35 and the 50mm, but photographers who discover the 40mm tend to like it a lot, me included, because it just works for almost everything without an extra effort. No wonder the Leica released their Leica Q series with the 43mm lens. It's a comfortable field of view, and people like it. So now, let's look at this lens. Visually it looks nice. I think it looks nicer than the Nikon 40. It is small and sits beautifully on camera like the Nikon Z. It is metal and feels solid. It reminds me a bit how the Fujifilm f2 line of lenses feel like. Definitely doesn't feel like a sub $200 lens. The lens has a hood, which is a nice touch. It will definitely protect the lens from bumping into something, but in terms of protecting the lens from flare, it wasn't very effective. But we will speak about that more later. And then there is the Aperture Ring. And this is probably one of the biggest pros for that lens. Having the Aperture Ring completely changes the shooting experience. You control the Aperture Ring with your fingers, you feel the clicks, it connects you to the shooting experience. I love this on the Fuji cameras, and I wish to have them on all of my Nikon lenses. I still don't get why other manufacturers are so slow in implementing them. Sony did wake up, but the rest are lagging behind. What I like about this lens paired with a camera like the Nikon ZF is that you can take a quick look at the camera and immediately notice the exposure settings. You see the shutter speed, you see the ISO, and now you can see the aperture as well. Of course you can see this on the display or looking through the viewfinder, but it doesn't feel as natural. And I do like my display as clean as possible. I do not like having all these icons and dials and whatever is there. I just like to see the photograph. One small thing that worth mentioning is that the rear cap of the lens has a USB-C port, which can be used for firmware updates. I'm not sure why they just didn't do it in the lens, but still having that on a $168 lens is a nice touch. As we're speaking about the build, there are two things that I less like about the lens. First one is the rear lens cap. You see, it wobbles. It closes and it doesn't fall down, but it also always gives me that feeling that it's not attached properly. The other thing is the front lens cap. It doesn't slide as easily. You see, I'm putting it and it's falling down. And it often takes me several attempts and I need to be really careful until it just clicks in the right place. Now, these are small things, but they're annoying. You guys took the time to engineer a beautiful lens, but somehow couldn't figure out the plastic caps. Anyways, I hope that the guys in TTArtisan would rethink the design of this for future products. Now let's talk about the important things. How is it actually to shoot with it? The overall experience in the field is very positive. It's a small lens, very light and compact, and when you pair it with the camera, it doesn't feel like a pro piece of gear, it's just like a small camera. Did I just say that I love the Aperture Ring? Yes, I do love that Aperture Ring. For my type of photography, this matters to me a lot. I can change immediately from f2 to f11 and I can see it quickly. It's not like dialing to the right aperture. You can dial to the right aperture and then it jumps over and then you need to come back. So it's not as intuitive and accurate when you're changing the settings. The Aperture Ring does it very accurately and very fast. The autofocus of the lens was on the slower side. It is slower than the Nikon 40mm, and the Nikon is not the snappiest either. In good light, on a contrasty subject, it works. Without real complaints, it's just a tiny bit slower. It does struggle more in low light, and in situation when the subject doesn't have a good contrast. I did photograph in a dark church, and I was struggling there. Sometimes the camera starts to hunt, and it struggles to lock focus at all. What I would do, I would make the autofocus point larger, or just search for some contrasty or a little bit better lit object nearby, lock on it and recompose. But these are things that are more related to the way you photograph rather than how the lens performs. So the lens in low light has some struggle to nail the focus. But it is important to mention that where I pushed it, it was really dark. These were very challenging conditions. But I think that most of the time you will be fine. For street photography in daylight, there is no issue. For low light work, you might need a bit more patience. It's not that bad, I'm just spoiled with the performance of other more expensive lenses. In terms of image quality, I didn't find any major issues. I used it in real life scenarios and I didn't really pixel pip. But I noticed when it's at f2, the lens has a little bit of a soft glow. It's not really defect, but the contrast gets softer, almost like a light diffusion effect. Some photographers will love it for portraits. I think it will work well for portraits. Others might find it a little bit too soft. At the moment you stop down the lens to f4 or f5.6, it cleans up significantly. The micro contrast is back and the lens becomes properly sharp. If I had to compare it to the Nikon, I didn't see a significant difference. In real world shooting, both lenses would perform more or less at similar level. I didn't do a brick wall test and looked at the pixel, but whatever I saw on my 27-inch 4K monitor looked fine. Now, bokeh. The background blur on this lens is okay, but it's not a bokeh monster. If bokeh is your main priority, I would look for different lenses, something that has a wider aperture and maybe a little bit more focal length. So for some people, the bokeh can feel a little bit busy. It's not the end of the world, you can still have some separation, but it will not look as smooth as other lenses, especially when there are a lot of light leaks or there is a contrasty background behind. I personally rarely shoot wide open, so I didn't have these issues at all, but when I had to open to f2, it looked fine, a little bit soft. Chromatic aberration is very present. They're visible wide open and that goes up to f8. But that's also to be expected from such a lens. So you should consider that if you decide to shoot in a situation with big differences and sharp transitions between light and shadows, you will see these blue contours. In practice, it didn't ruin any of my images because I'm very light aware and carefully watching what type of light gets into my images, and I wouldn't photograph like that intentionally. But if you need to shoot that way, in high contrast situations, you will see it. Here's a photo that I took specially to show you how it looks like. There's a slight pinkish and distortion, nothing dramatic, a small correction in Lightroom handles it, and the lens profile will take care of it automatically anyway. But vignetting is stronger than I expected. Even at f8, the light fell off on the corner is still noticeable. The Lightroom profile helps, but it doesn't fully solve it, so you will need to edit a little bit more. And if you shoot a lot with flat, even tones, like white wall, you will notice it. So for street photography, and the commentary work, it bothered me less, but if you're planning to take this lens for something that is interior design or architecture, I would consider the vignetting. Flare is also a notable one. Even with the hood on, flare is a notable one. Even with the hood on and without having the sun directly into the lens, it flares strongly. So you can play with the angles towards the light source and you can reduce that, but it will still flare. But here it may be worth mentioning that the Nikon is not flare-free either. So both have flare. The TTArtisan has a stronger one, but neither is clean. Something to keep in mind when shooting towards the light. Okay, so let me put them side by side. Price-wise, the TTArtisan comes in $168. The Nikon is around $230. That's a $62 difference. It's not going to move the bank balance a lot, but it's still difference. In terms of weight, they're very similar, with 3-gram difference. I don't think you will actually feel it. Both are very comfortable to carry all day, so that shouldn't be a parameter. The lens mount is made of metal on the TTArtisan and plastic on the Nikon. I don't think that it really matters with this type of lenses, but if it matters to you, now you know it. Neither of the two lenses is weather sealed. Looking at the diagrams, the Nikon lens looks like they made some kind of attempts in that direction, but it's not considered weather sealed. So if I had to guess, both will struggle in the rain, with the Nikon having a slight edge. In any case, I wouldn't take them out in a heavy weather. As for autofocus speed, as I mentioned before, the Nikon wins. Not by a huge margin, but in difficult conditions it does show. Aperture Ring, of course, this is where the TTArtisan wins and the Nikon doesn't have one. For me personally, this is a big point in favor of the TTArtisan. Flare resistance, the Nikon handles it better, but it also flares. It's not as bad as the TTArtisan, but it's not flare-free either. Neither lens is a good choice for strong backlit shooting without being careful. In terms of bokeh, neither of the both lenses is a bokeh lens. If creamy background blur is something that is important to you, look at different lenses. You can still blur the background, but it wouldn't be as smooth as some other lenses out there. In terms of look and feel, the TTArtisan definitely wins, especially on the ZF. It just looks better. The sharpness and the overall image quality are quite similar. Once you stop down, both will give you good results. So as I mentioned at the beginning, all the images in these videos were shot with the TTArtisan. I worked with both hard light, soft light, and tried very low light. And as you can see, you can definitely do decent work with it. And that is the point that I always come back to. The lens is a tool, an important one, but it's still a tool. What matters more is how you use it, how you photograph. So who would benefit from such a lens? Who is this for? If you're looking for a compact daily walk-around lens for the Nikon Z system, and you want to keep your budget friendly, this is a good choice. The Aperture Ring alone makes the shooting experience more enjoyable than a Nikon for many photographers. The size is right, the image quality is there once you stop down a bit. If you need a better autofocus, for low light or fast moving situation, the Nikon performs better. Not a lot better, but it might be worth to add this extra $62. Overall, for street, travel, everyday documentary work, the TTArtisan will do the job. All of that with a very friendly budget. I hope this was useful. I would like to hear your experience with the lens, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have. I'll see you next time. Happy shooting!